Welcome to Archaeologists Behaving Badly. I'm Belle.
I'm Raquel.
And today we're doing, what's this episode?
Fakes and frauds.
Fakes and frauds.
Frauds and fakes. Yep.
All right, I'm going to go first.
Yep.
So I am doing Heinrich Schliemann.
Okay.
Forgive me because I wrote this months ago and I haven't read it since then.
Okay.
So I may have to
It's new for both of us, basically.
find where I'm at. So Heinrich Schliemann is most famous for discovering Troy.
Yep.
And he was a pretty naughty boy and did a little bit of some
naughty things.
Fraudulent things as well. All right. So he's widely considered a pioneer in archaeology. There's also been criticism and debate around him for the past 100 years, revolving around three questions.
Okay.
1, did he falsify his discoveries? 2, was he a good archaeologist? And 3, did he actually discover Troy?
Yep.
So he was born on the 6th of January in 1822 in Mecklenburg-Schwerin. Okay, this is going to be one of those ones where I mispronounce things and I am sorry. So he was born in 1822 in northern Germany.
Okay, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
His father, Ernst, was a poor Lutheran minister and his mother died when he was 9.
Sad.
He was sent to live. It is sad. Sad.
Sad boy.
It is. He was sent to live with his uncle, and then at 11 he enrolled in a grammar school. He has said that his dad used to read him the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Is it like a bedtime thing?
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
It's like a pretty heavy bedtime story. Or I don't know if you've read the Iliad. Like that language it's one of my favorite texts of all time.
I have at uni, but I don't.
It's just heavy.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to follow.
But
imagine
maybe 150 years ago.
That's
more
true.
than 150 years ago, there wouldn't have been.
That's totally true.
Super lighthearted.
In northern Germany,
not the kind of kids' stories that we would read today.
No, that's true.
So later in life, he claimed that it was at age 7 that he decided he was going to find and excavate the city of Troy.
That's very
Young,
yeah,
to be like,
and
yes,
ambitious.
This is what I'm going to do.
Totally ambitious for
and
a
I've
7-year-old.
written here, some biographers think that that's an exaggeration.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
So at some point he has to leave the grammar school and he enrolls in a vocational school, and around age 14 he leaves school altogether because his dad got busted embezzling money from the church that he was working for.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah.
Which, if they were poor, maybe he was just trying to survive. But
trying to feed his family. I get it.
I don't personally have a problem with it. But it's an indication of
the environment that he's
exactly.
being brought up in.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
So at this point, so he's 14, he begins working as an apprentice at a grocery, and later said his passion for Homer began when he heard a drunkard reciting Homer's work at the grocer's. But he's already said that the passion started at age 7, so he likes to
he's
say
clearly,
shit and make stuff up.
Clearly
whatever.
already doing that.
Yeah.
And what, again, reading the Iliad, being drunk and reading the Iliad and being drunk and remembering.
Reciting it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a major feat in itself.
Yeah. Good on that drunkard. If that's a true story, which who knows. So he works at the grocer's for 5 years, but then he has to stop because he burst a blood vessel.
Okay.
In 1841, he's 19. He moves to Hamburg and he becomes a cabin boy on a steamer bound for Venezuela.
Okay.
After 12 days at sea, the ship foundered in a gale and the survivors washed up on shore in the Netherlands.
Okay. Does this not also sound like the Iliad or the Odyssey? Do you know what I mean? This sounds a little bit like the Odyssey coming out of here.
I didn't even think that maybe this part of his story was a lie as well. But anyway, this is happened to him, apparently.
Yeah.
So he stays in the Netherlands, washes up on shore there. He's one of the people that washes up on shore, and then he's just like,
It's
okay,
like, cool, this is it.
this is where I live now.
This is my home.
Nice. So in Amsterdam, he becomes a messenger and then an office attendant and then a bookkeeper.
Okay. He's a man of many talents.
Yeah, he's obviously like pretty bright and just fits his way into whatever.
Yeah.
At 22, he takes a position with an import-export firm called B.H. Schroeder & Co., and they send him as a representative agent to St. Petersburg.
Okay. So now he's in Russia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over time, he represents a number of firms and becomes fluent in Russian, Greek, English, French, Spanish, Latin, Arabic, and some other languages.
Okay. Okay. All right now.
I've just written over time. I don't know over how much time because it would take me a lifetime.
Okay, already this sounds like just like ultra narcissist. Like, I mean, who the fuck knows that many languages?
I'm sure some people do, but there are some people who are like geniuses in language.
There are. Like,
He might have been one of those people.
He might have been, okay. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, here we go. Yeah.
Well, you know it's going to go south because this is an episode called Fakes and Frauds. So, right, where am I? In 1850, he learns that his brother, who's a wealthy speculator on the California gold fields, dies.
Okay.
So in 1851, he goes to Sacramento, and while he's there, he starts up a bank.
Of course, because that's
as you do.
What you do. Yeah. Because you can just start a bank.
Going to deal with the death of your brother's estate or whatever, and so you start a bank.
Knowing all these languages, it's a big thing. It's a big time. Yeah.
So he would buy and resell gold dust from the goldfields.
Okay.
When the local Rothschild, from the famous family, when the local Rothschild agent complained about short weight consignments, he left California.
Okay.
So this big money, very influential family is complaining that he's selling gold dust and there's not as much of it in there as what he's selling.
Yeah.
He's just like...
doesn't care.
I'm out.
Yeah. That's cool. I'll just take a boat. Like,
blah, blah, blah. When, he leaves and he says that he's ill.
Okay.
So that's why he's leaving.
Oh my God, just like sorry, like I'm sick today. Like,
I have
boo,
to go.
You whore.
Like, I have to go. Yeah. In his memoirs, he says that before he was in California, he was in Washington, D.C., and he had dinner with President Millard Fillmore, but someone named W. Calder III, I don't know who that is, says Schliemann wasn't there. So he's someone who, I guess, worked for or was present with the president at the time, and says that
just straight
Schliemann
up
wasn't there. He just must have read about the dinner party in the papers.
Okay.
And then said that in his memoirs he's writing that he went to this dinner party with the president.
Can you just like imagine it? Like he's got like the paper out and he's writing his journal. He's just like, what do we have today? Like, where was I today?
Also published an eyewitness account of a San Francisco fire, which he said was in June of, I guess, 1851, because that's when he's there. Except the fire that he's talking about in his account was actually in May, and he was in Sacramento at the time of the fire. So he stole that story from the Sacramento Daily Journal. But we're getting a picture of Heinrich Schliemann as someone who just makes stuff up.
But like, what do you get out of that? Like
maybe it's pathological. Like maybe he can't help himself, or he's just like trying to embellish his life.
Yeah.
Make it sound more exciting.
Like, like meeting the president. I can get that. Just like, I met the president, guys. Like, but like I witnessed a fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is that?
What is the point?
What does that get you?
Yeah.
Like, Anyway, I love him. Like, this is great. Like,
He's
I love
pretty
him so
amazing.
far. Yeah.
So in 1852, he moves back to Russia and he ends up marrying the niece of one of his wealthy friends.
Okay, as you do.
Her name's Ekaterina. They have a son and 2 daughters. Somewhere around this time, so I guess in the next couple of years, so in the early to mid 1850s, he goes into the business of making and dealing indigo dye.
Okay.
Fabric dye.
Okay, fabric dye.
Yeah, the indigo blue.
Yeah.
And
Didn't realize that was a lucrative business, but here we are.
at the time, yes. And he does what is called cornering the market, which I had to actually look up because I was like, what does that mean? Cornering the market is where you obtain sufficient control of something to manipulate the market value.
Okay. Yeah.
So he runs the indigo dye trade, basically.
So does that mean like he can like set the price?
Yeah.
And right. Okay. Cool. So he can make bank just because he has that market to himself. Okay. Yep.
He runs it. Schliemann made yet another fortune, so a second fortune. He makes a fortune from indigo.
Okay.
He makes another fortune as a military contractor during the Crimean War from 1854 to 1856. He corners the market again in saltpeter, sulfur, and lead, and they're used in ammunition.
Okay. I can imagine
And then
why
he
that's
sells
like
them
lucrative.
back to the Russian government, which is how he made lots of money. 1858, he's 36, not that much older than I am now, and I haven't done nearly as much stuff or made nearly as much money as he has, so I'm feeling like a bit of a failure. Just like a bit of a...
And here we are, just, yeah. 2 archaeologists just
sitting
here.
in my work, chatting about shit. Where am I? 1858, he's 36. He's wealthy enough to retire.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Can I be 36 and retire?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I think you should, and I would like to. I don't have much time left, so I'm not sure how I'm going to swing that one.
Hey, I've got faith in us.
We can do it
We
somehow.
can do it. Yeah.
So he's retired. He's spending all his time studying, traveling, like doing whatever the hell he wants. In 1866, so, okay, that's a bit of a jump, 8 years, he spends a month studying at the Sorbonne. He asks Ekaterina to join him in France, but she refuses. So,
like,
and that's all I've written. I can't remember what I actually read about it.
Yeah.
If there was a reason why she did, but I think there might be trouble in paradise.
You reckon? Like, imagine
She's
that.
just like,
no.
I'm not.
You know what?
I'm not coming.
You know what? I'm just good if I never see you again.
Yeah.
Like,
You go and do your thing. Like, I'm
please.
1868, he submits a dissertation proposing that Hissarlik, sorry if that's not how you say it, was the ancient site of Troy. Hissarlik is in Turkey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the ancient site of Troy based on a topographical analysis, and he's awarded a PhD for this dissertation.
I mean, that's pretty... I mean, like, you have to be pretty... you have to be pretty intelligent and you have to be very convincing to be awarded a PhD.
Although it's 1866, I don't know what the...
Exactly.
How strict they were just like, oh, that sounds good.
That's it. Yeah, totally.
You've got money. Here's
Yeah. Are you a white guy? Like, are you an older white guy? I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
1869, he buys property in Indianapolis in the States, and he settles there just for 3 months, simply to take advantage of Indiana's divorce laws. So I think, back then,
So maybe there was trouble in
divorce was
paradise.
was frowned upon
Yeah.
in most places and illegal in a lot of places.
Yeah, true.
So he moves there just so he can get divorced.
And think about how religious like certain places are as well. But that's
still to this day.
exactly.
But
exactly.
back then, you
Indianapolis.
can't really go against the status quo.
That's where you need to be.
Okay, so he moves to Athens as soon as the Indiana court grants his divorce.
Of course. Okay. Yeah.
And 2 months after he arrives there, he's married again.
What?
Yep. Here's how.
Right back on the horse.
I've even written it. Here's how. His friend, the Archbishop of Mantinea, an archbishop, Mantinea and Kynaria. I'm sorry.
No idea.
His friend, the Archbishop, I'll just say that, helped him
the main
find
thing.
someone, in quotation marks, enthusiastic about Homer with a Greek name and a soul impassioned for learning. End quote. That's sure, nice. The Archbishop suggested the daughter of his cousin, a young schoolgirl named Sophia.
Oh.
He's...
How young?
Schliemann is 47.
Oh, God, no. I don't want to know. No.
Sophia was 15.
Oh. Oh, my God, that poor girl.
Nice.
Oh. I wonder, though, has anyone, like, actually looked in to see if that was actually the Archbishop's
No
niece?
idea.
You know what I mean? Like, now that we know that he's just, like, do you know what I mean? Dodgy. Maybe it's just some random farm girl. You know what I mean? Like, that he just... Either way.
It's awful. And
the poor
it's,
girl.
let's be honest, not uncommon. Okay, sometime in the late 1860s, Schliemann had dug with a man named Frank Calvert, who was an archaeologist and a local expert in Turkey.
Okay.
At a place called Pinarbasi, I'm so fucking sorry, which was originally believed to be the site of Troy. It was actually Calvert who convinced Schliemann to try and dig at Hisarlik on property that was owned by Calvert's family.
Okay.
Schliemann begins digging at Hisarlik in 1870 and by 1873 had discovered 9 buried cities.
Okay.
Which...
Like separately?
No,
or...
I think it means...
Oh, like downwards.
Yeah, I think
like
9 phases of a city.
Okay, yeah.
That was unclear. And obviously I didn't do extensive enough research at the time that I wrote this. Feel free to correct us because it might have been 9 separate cities, but
that seems
crazy because
it can't be like a big area,
the land,
surely.
The land size
Although it
would
is,
have to be enormous.
It is the 19th century. Like,
true.
Who knows? Yeah.
One of his main excavation methods, dynamite.
Amazing. Let's just blow it all up.
Very delicate.
As we go.
So I think that's maybe where some of the questions around whether he was a good archaeologist or not come from.
Yeah.
But again, 19th century, I don't know. But everyone was a fucking cowboy.
But like everyone did that.
Yeah.
Like it's like even into like the 20th century, like people were still using dynamite. Like that was just a cost-effective, quick way of getting through shit, basically.
Yeah.
Until you get to the stuff that you want to find.
Yeah.
Like even archaeologists that we know have like told us before that when they were in uni... I
felt my face just drop. I was like, I don't think I know anyone that's used dynamite.
No. Like not dynamite, but like have just like gone through...
Yeah, when you're...
We're talking about people like that are older than us.
Yeah, when you're interested in a specific
phase or a particular time period.
You kind of...
I've heard that before. I've definitely heard that before.
Go through the stuff you're not interested in, even if someone in the future might be interested in it.
Exactly.
But you fucking ripped it up and destroyed it.
Well, it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's terrible. It's terrible methodology, but like it does happen. Yeah.
The day before digging was meant to stop, they discovered a hoard of early Bronze Age gold, silver, and bronze jewelry, and vessels. And he took this to be Priam's treasure. Priam was a king in Homer's stuff, if you didn't know. Excuse me. We're drinking champagne, so
I've done that like multiple times and just praying that it doesn't pick it up. But...
Bubbles, burps. Well, I'm not going to hide it. He wrote that he had seen gold in the ground and dismissed all the workers so he and Sophia alone could dig it up.
Yeah, because it's a special moment, you know.
For you and your wife.
Yeah.
And they carried the treasure in her shawl. Later, he even admitted to fabricating that story because Sophia was in Athens at the time.
Yes. Okay.
And maybe she was still at school.
Oh.
He didn't write that. I've written that because she's, at this point, 16.
16 and probably still at school. Like, exactly. Like, how do you like get around that one?
It's
like,
so gross.
Oh, she was on her semester break. Oh, it's still so wrong. All of it's wrong.
His discovery was important in the development of not just classical archaeology, but religious archaeology.
Okay.
Because it established, like, it was the first time that a 2,500-year-old myth could be established as a real place.
Totally.
If Homer's Troy is real, why not Abraham's Ur or Moses's Goshen?
Yep. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because myth is like, I mean, honestly, I think like half the reason why archaeologists as kids or as teenagers want to get
interested in it
is because of these myths that kind of perpetuate this excitement and adventure and like, and to be the person that proves it right, like your name is going to be remembered forever kind of thing. Like I totally get that. Why that's so like enticing.
Yeah. I don't think that's why I
it's not why it's definitely not what I did, but like I can definitely imagine it.
Yeah.
It's like also just like finding something that no one else found. Like that in archaeology, that's just kind of a reason that like can drive you. Like imagine if I can be the person that finds
the first person to discover a city or
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So they found this treasure hoard.
They found.
Yeah.
Okay.
His workers found, and then he dismissed them all from sight.
Yeah.
So a Turkish government representative hears about the find, and apparently there was a big commotion on site because he came to the site, but Schliemann refused to show him anything. He hid all the artifacts.
That's very...
in his tent.
Convenient.
And then when the government rep went to the nearest town to get people, to round up people to go back there, while he was away, Schliemann got all the goods off the site and like disappeared.
And just like did a runner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he smuggles the treasure out of Turkey and into Greece.
Okay.
And he offers it all to the Greek government, and then it ends up in the Berlin Museum. In 1945, Soviet forces took it to Moscow.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
In 1874, so we're going back to his time.
Yeah.
He initiated and sponsored the removal. Oh, that's right. 1874, he initiated and sponsored the removal of medieval constructions from the Acropolis of Athens.
Okay, so I think we can answer one question then. Like, was he a good archaeologist? Like,
I don't think he was an archaeologist at all.
No, well, exactly. Like,
let alone a good one.
Totally. Because that's fucked.
Yeah,
That's so fucked up.
Never knew there were medieval constructions at the Acropolis.
Yeah, never. That's not what you get taught in your textbooks. That's like...
No. There are a couple of photos. Maybe we can put them up.
Yeah.
There was something called the Great Frankish Tower, which was one of the things he knocked down.
Oh my God, that's so infuriating.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There was a lot of opposition at the time to him doing it, including from King George I of Greece. So the king didn't want
Him to
these
do it.
medieval structures to be removed, but he did it anyway. And later the move was denounced as vandalism, which it is.
It's more than that. Surely that's more than just vandalism. Like, I don't know what the legal term of that is, but that's like...
But he obviously was just like, because he was so obsessed with...
Yeah. Like television.
With the classical kind of period, he was just like, this is a monstrosity. This probably what was quite a beautiful medieval tower.
Yeah.
And he was just like, ugh, yeah, get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Okay. When confronted about anomalies at Troy, of his Troy, so I think there's a few people saying we're not sure about, I don't know whether it was the treasure or like what he said
or like
was Troy or whatever. Like people start saying, something's not quite right or whatever.
Yeah.
So then he turns his attention to a new dig on mainland Greece. So
Okay,
it's just like,
I'll be over there.
In 1876, Schliemann began digging at Mycenae. There he discovered the shaft graves with skeletons and regal gold, including the so-called Mask of Agamemnon.
I saw that.
You did.
I did. Yeah, like when I was in Greece, like not long ago, a couple months ago, I went to I think it's like the National Athens Museum or something, Archaeological Museum. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
And it's like the first thing that you see when you walk in, and I just like lost my shit. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's the Mask of Agamemnon. Like,
I've only seen it in textbooks.
it looks exactly the same. If that makes you feel any better.
How big is it?
Like that big?
Head size. What a fucking stupid question. Oh my God.
Yes, it is head size. Yeah. Pretty much like a mask. Like, you know. No, but it's like it's really beautiful, and they have like other things that were dug up from that excavation.
Yeah. Did you take pictures while you?
I did.
While you were there?
Yeah. I think I've got a really shitty picture of me like next to it, or like
We'll put
Peter
that
took
up.
a photo of me. Yeah, it's super shitty. Yeah, like, really not beautiful, but yeah.
Okay, so he finds the Mask of Agamemnon. In 1878 and 1879, he reopens the dig site at Troy. In 1880, he begins excavation of the treasury of Minyas at Orchomenus, Boeotia.
Boeotia, yeah, I think that's right.
Is it?
I think Boeotia's right.
I'm so sorry. It's actually really embarrassing. I should have read this before.
Yeah, we're not really great at that.
No.
Sorry, not sorry.
He makes a third excavation at Troy from 1882 to 1883. An excavation of Tirans with a man named Wilhelm Dorpfeld in 1884, and a fourth excavation at Troy, also with Dorpfeld, who was the person who emphasized the importance of strata.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah,
In archaeology, we like that.
Yeah.
Strata, we like strata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that fourth excavation was 1888 to 1890. On August the 1st, 1890, Schliemann returned to Athens, and in November he travelled to Halle, where he had a chronic ear infection, and he gets an operation on it.
Okay.
After
Shit, I
this-
wouldn't want to get an operation back in those times.
No,
Yeah,
not for anything.
Not for anything, let alone in your head. But okay. Yeah. I'm
After
sure he bounced back.
surgery, his inner ear becomes inflamed, but he ignores doctors who tell him not to travel, and he travels to Leipzig, Berlin, and Paris. He plans to return to Athens for Christmas, but he was too sick to make the boat ride from Naples to Greece. So he remains in Naples, but did manage to make a quick trip to the ruins of Pompeii.
Okay.
On Christmas Day in 1890, he collapses and falls into a coma. He dies in a Naples hotel the following day. And the cause of his death was cholesteatoma, which is a inner ear thing.
Okay. Again, don't trust surgery in the 19th century. That's what I'm
maybe
saying.
if he didn't have the surgery, this wouldn't have happened. I don't know. He was interned. He wasn't interned. He was interred at a mausoleum shaped like an ancient Greek temple in the first cemetery in Athens. Today, Schliemann's mansion in Athens now houses the Numismatic Museum of Athens, one of the most important museums in Greece.
I have heard of it and I wanted to go there, but I didn't have time.
It would have been cool to see because it's in his house.
Yeah. Like
what was a ridiculously massive house.
To be honest, I wish I had known that before I went because I probably would have gone. But I had no idea that was because it definitely came up on my little like itinerary list of things to do, but I just didn't have enough time. But that would have been cool, just been like, hey, this is actually Heinrich Schliemann's house. That's crazy.
Okay, so wrapping up. In an article for the Classical World, D.F. Easton wrote that Schliemann was, quote, not very good at separating fact from interpretation.
Okay.
And even in 1872, Frank Calvert could see from the pottery that Troy too had to be hundreds of years too early to be the Troy of the Trojan War, which was a point finally proven by the discovery of Mycenaean pottery in Troy 6 in 1890. King Priam's treasure was found in the Troy 2 level, which is that of the early Bronze Age, long before Priam's city of Troy 6 or 7A in the prosperous Mycenaean age. His excavations at Troy were condemned by later archaeologists as having destroyed the main layers of the real Troy.
So inadvertently just actually completely fucking destroyed.
He just fucked it up totally. Just looking for gold.
Fucking antiquities. Like people so in love with antiquities. Like that's what happens.
Yeah.
You just end up fucking everything up.
Exactly. He really wasn't a pioneer of a new science, and he wasn't a particularly honest person.
Really?
But he still had a desire to investigate and to share his results, which is really important.
That is really important. And that is something that doesn't happen all the time today.
No, so even today, people don't share
Don't publish or... Yeah.
He really did open up Aegean prehistory and inspire enthusiasm for archaeology. Like, he made a lot of people interested in archaeology because he was...
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, I remember being a kid and listening and hearing about him, like being like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old and kind of knowing who he was and being attributed to Troy. Like, that's huge. Like, even,
it's huge.
You know, I think he actually got what he wanted in the end. And it was that people would know him and his name to
even
be attributed.
If it wasn't always
totally
associated with the good.
Totally.
He will forever be remembered.
In a shit way. But still, in a way, nonetheless. And I think,
So, that's Heinrich Schliemann, a fake and fraud, but also, like, kind of not amazing or inspiring. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Impressive. I think.
Yeah.
He was kind of a wild guy.
Yeah.
And I can get around almost all of it except for being 47 and marrying a 16-year-old. Aside from that, that's like...
100%. And
but all the other dodgy stuff, I'm like, I kind of love it.
Yeah, like goes against like the Rothschilds and like creates a bank.
Just does whatever he wants to. Corners the market in indigo dye, ammunition.
I mean, like gets into like a, like, I don't know, literally rocks up to shore like from a fucking like ship sinking. Like that's insane. Yeah. Like what a guy. Who knows what is true?
Yeah, who knows?
But still love him.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Cool guy. Very cool guy.
I am going to tell a couple of stories about I'm going to tell 2 stories, hopefully, if I have time, about some finds. So it's not about a particular person, but about some fakes.
Okay,
so
cool.
not some frauds, but by some fakes. So I found this fucking wild story named like the Persian princess.
Okay.
So...
Ow.
We're good?
We're good. Sorry.
All right. So in 2000, Pakistani authorities were alerted to a mummy that was being sold. So I think someone had put up like a video or something saying, hey, I've got like a mummy that I'm selling, you know, just casually. And
when is
obviously
this?
In 2000.
Okay.
So this isn't like...
No.
This is pretty fucking recent, right? And so the guy that was selling it, he got it off a guy who like got it off a guy who like got it off a guy, like kind of thing. But the
Which
guy,
is not, I mean, that's not that crazy. I know, like...
No, totally.
I've seen photos from like the late 19th century where it's just like mummies lined up that were for sale.
Oh, totally.
That had just been dug out of somewhere and
like
in
on
Egypt probably.
Yeah.
And you could just buy a mummy if you wanted to.
Like on the street, just like, But this is like 2000.
Mummies?
A mummy.
Were mummies a thing there?
So Akbar got it from a guy who got it from a guy. And the guy that he got it from was from Iran.
Okay.
Who said he found it after an earthquake.
Okay. In Iran?
Yes.
Probably.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
It's in a place called Quetta.
Okay.
And actually I don't think it must have been in Iran somewhere.
Yeah.
On Quetta.
Do they have earthquakes?
I have no idea.
I mean, everywhere kind of has earthquakes.
Yeah, but do you have big enough earthquakes for it to like
unearth a mummy on the ground?
Just like, literally just unearths like, well that's another thing probably like to probably keep in mind in the story. So it had been for sale for 600 million rupees on the black market.
Okay.
Which I think it equates to like $11 million or something. I don't know if that's like US dollars or I'm assuming it's US dollars. Still a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And it was because it was supposed to be a Persian princess. So it wasn't just any mummy.
Right.
It was supposed to be like royalty, but still a Persian mummy. Like that's pretty crazy. So a Pakistani archaeologist had like looked at it and said it seemed to be a Persian princess from 600 BC.
Okay.
So that's a very long time ago.
Yeah. Again, did the Persians mummify?
Well, that's it. So it was an Egyptian style mummy. So you can get mummies that are like the term mummy is it's a bit of a loose term because like, you know, you can see
mummification can be natural as well as
absolutely.
Yeah.
So like what kind of a style?
True.
So it's supposed to be like an Egyptian style mummy. So like I assume wrapped and like, you know, and it even had cuneiform carvings on it. So it was like fully legit and it had like a stone sarcophagus and it had like multiple layers. I think it was like sitting on something that had like wax and honey.
Okay.
So it was like all these different elements to it. And the inscription that was within the mummy said that it was a princess of none other than Xerxes I of Persia. So it was like one of his daughters, a lesser known daughter. But then like, it's still weird. Like, why would a Persian princess be mummified, like, in an Egyptian style? Like, that's still a bit weird.
Odd.
It's still super odd. Like, so prior to this, like, no mummies have ever been found in Persia
Okay.
before.
So it's not a normal thing.
So it's definitely like that there has been none. So they thought that maybe she had been married to an Egyptian prince.
Okay.
So because like they had all these inscriptions saying who she was, and because of like the style that she was mummified in, they're like, okay, well that's like the natural kind of conclusion. So at this point, both the Iranian and the Pakistani governments began to fight over the ownership of the mummy. And that kind of makes sense. Like we have those kind of issues today. Like, you know, when you find something that's obviously has like a provenance somewhere else.
Yeah.
So like that's like a normal thing to like be fighting over.
Yeah, I mean, ownership and the repatriation of stuff that's been taken from somewhere else. And like it's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%.
In modern times.
Exactly. So at this point, both the Iranian and the Pakistani governments begin to fight over the ownership. The Iranian Cultural Heritage Organization demanded her back because she was a member of the royal family of Persia. So that was kind of their kind of justification. They were like, no, you have to give it back.
It's their heritage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, like, because she's a long way from home if she's ending up in Pakistan, like, and that makes sense to me, like, you know. But then even the Taliban of Afghanistan made a fucking claim on this, and we're just like,
how?
No, I don't even know. It didn't go into that. I didn't really look very hard, but like, let's be real. But yeah, they made a claim on it, being like, no, like, I don't know why. So shit's like,
sorry, my tummy's just grumbling.
So shit's getting wild, right? So then they put her on display at the National Museum of Pakistan. But then I think, so this is becoming like really big news at this point. So like, oh my God, we found this like Persian princess and she's been mummified, and like that's fucking huge news.
Yeah.
But then an American archaeologist comes forward and said that in March, so I think this happened like in November or something, or like October or something like that. But in like March earlier that year, this like American archaeologist goes, wait, no, I've seen photos of this mummy. Like I've been sent photos of this mummy. And I guess I didn't like really quite get a clear understanding of what his role was, but I guess he was kind of taken on by like an antiques dealer, like a middleman.
To like authenticate it.
Yeah. To be like, is this real? Like, can I get your kind of approval or like your kind of thing? Anyway, so he's like pretty interested in it, obviously, like as you would be. And the antiques dealer, or like the middleman guy who's like working on behalf of the guy that's selling this mummy, takes a piece of, I don't know if it was the coffin or of something, obviously something of the entire mummy, because there's obviously lots of elements to it. And gets it carbon dated. And it only dates to 250 years.
Okay.
So in my mind, I think that's like a sample of like the
coffin,
wooden
the
coffin.
sarcophagus or whatever. Yeah.
Because I know that it was also inlaid by like a stone slab and a stone sarcophagus, but usually there's also like a wooden one inside of that. So anyway, he just immediately goes, fuck this. Like, I'm going straight to Interpol, to the FBI, and cutting all ties with this dude because clearly it's a fucking fake, right? So he tells them. So then the curator, my God, this just keeps going on and on. So then a curator of the National Museum of Pakistan, where it was originally housed, where it was originally taken to, studied the mummy. And this woman realized, like, as she's like looking at the actual mummy itself, like the body, realized that it had signs of decomposition on the face. Like there was fungus and it was decomposing. And she's just like, what the fuck? Like,
that's not meant to be there if it's a fucking 2,000-year-old mummy.
Fuck no, that's not supposed to be there. And then they look at the mat. So she's like she's lying on like a mat. And the mat's only 5 years old.
Fuck.
So they're like, what the fuck? Like, this body's decomposing. The mat's like, so like, yeah, I don't know.
The coffin's only 200 years old.
Yeah.
The mat is 5 years old.
That totally makes sense because like if you've got like a timber coffin, that timber could be
easily
250 years old. Like that kind of makes sense. So like they did a further analysis of the inscription. So like there was an inscription on the breastplate. So she had like a breastplate like in the sarcophagus, like on her mummy kind of thing. And it was in Persian, and it like it said that who she was and her name, which I didn't even bother writing down because like, do not trust me at all. Butcher it completely. And
I should have done that. Oh, I forgot to write the name down.
Whoops. Like, and yeah, people looked at it and they were like, actually, this is grammatically incorrect. Like, this is not Persian. They've used her name in the Greek sense, not in the Persian sense. So now we've got Egyptian, we've got Greek, we've got Persian. None of it's kind of adding up. So like, what the fuck? So then after this, they were like, fuck it, let's put the mummy like into a hospital to get like proper CT scans and get like properly examined by people.
Yeah.
And they realized that the body hadn't even been mummified properly. So usually in Egyptian mummification, they take out all of the organs, but they leave the heart. But the heart had been taken out of this one. So like all the organs had been removed, including the heart, which is like not an Egyptian mummification. But also like if she's decaying, then clearly she's not in the era of any ancient Egyptian time. And her tendons were still intact.
Oh, so
like
she's fresh.
She's fucking fresh, man. Like what?
God.
Also, at this point, the Taliban had further tried to like claim her by saying that they had captured the smugglers that obviously got her into Pakistan to begin with. Like that was just some kind of...
That meant that she was theirs?
Yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of their claim because like they had... I'm like, okay. Like that
like,
still
cool,
doesn't...
That's cool that you guys did that,
Yeah.
but like that doesn't mean that you own her now.
No, exactly. So then, this is super sad. So then they did like a proper analysis and I hope that picked that up.
That was like a proper groan.
I know.
Like a creaky door.
She's talking.
We might need to get some dinner after this. My stomach is saying, you can't just give me 4 glasses of champagne.
And think this is going to be fine.
That it's okay.
It's not okay.
Apologies for the interruption on behalf of my guts.
Well, I think after this especially, maybe this is not going to be so great. So then after the analysis, ended up the princess was only 21 to 25 years old. She'd been killed due to trauma from a blunt instrument to her back and pelvis, which they kind of said that like getting hit by cars. Like if you got hit by a car, you'd get hit by,
something
like to your back
enough to
your back
kill you.
Yeah, exactly. She likely died in 1996.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Her teeth had been removed after her death. So her teeth had been like extracted. And no one gave a fuck about her after that.
What?
No one, like that was it. They were like, okay, cool,
she's
it's a
modern,
fake.
and then
that was it. And
that's horrible.
It's really horrible, yeah. And I think I didn't write this down, but there was like an art installation or something that was created by someone or it was an art installation that was put up and display in Jerusalem. And they actually made an art installation like kind of about her.
Okay.
And basically the whole thing, I don't know what it was about, I don't know what they showed, but it was basically to display the fact that people thought you were a princess and everyone fucking cared. And then you were proven not to be a princess and literally no one gave a fuck about you. And there was like a certain, I don't know if it was a charity or something trying to get her remains back. So this was all happening in 2000 and this kind of happened pretty quickly.
Okay.
So like within a few months,
right.
This all kind of came about. So I think this is like started in October and November and probably only took a couple of months for them to like realize after all the analysis that she was clearly modern. And it took until 2008 until she was finally laid to rest with proper burial rites.
Poor baby.
Yeah. And there is no mention as to who it is. So I don't think they might have found out and they just like haven't mentioned it. But that was it. And I think that's so fucking true. Like everyone gave a fuck about this. There were governments fighting over this person.
And then as soon as it was just a
regular woman. Yeah. Then no one gives a fuck. Like how fucked is that?
Who's clearly been killed.
Yeah. Yeah, and covered up. But also, who the fuck was the person who got obviously hired to create this elaborate...
Well, they did a shit job.
They did a shit job. Like, but they tried pretty hard. Like, they honestly thought this was real.
Yeah.
For a long time. And it was only until they decided doing, like, random analysis. It wasn't that they were doing analysis because they thought something was off.
I wonder if it seems too ridiculous to be a way to cover up a death. It seems more like someone had this fucking harebrained scheme to create
an opportunity.
Mummy,
yeah.
And they asked a friend or whatever, like, I'm thinking about doing this. And so they've gotten a body from somewhere. So maybe it was someone who didn't have family or was far away from home or whatever who died.
Even think of that.
And so they were just like, all right, she'll do. Let's try and make this happen.
I never thought of that. For some reason, like, my head just went through, like
covering up a
covering
murder.
it up. But then, like, that's a pretty fucking weird way of going about it. No, I think you're totally onto something.
Yeah. They were trying to make the money.
They were trying to make the money by creating a mummy.
And selling it on the black market.
But then, like, you have to be, like, to know cuneiform. Like,
also to do, like, a mishmash of Egyptian stuff and Persian stuff and, like, the Greek phrasing.
Yeah.
They really didn't. If you're going to try and create a false thing and sell it for $11 million, you got to do a little bit of research.
Oh, my God. You got to do it fucking right, you know? Like, you have to be all fucking balls in.
Yeah,
that's what you need to be.
You really have to put in the work. You can't just be like, that looks good.
This will do. No one will know. That's actually a really good point. And it kind of like works really well with my next little story.